Hey, this is Alan Snell with lvsportsbiz.com, and I'm here with a really interesting business leader in the community. He's well known here in Las Vegas, really across the country, Joe Maloof.
How are you?
Good to see you, Joe. Joe and I, along with his brother Gavin, we actually did a story a couple of years ago, and you brought me up to date on pretty much what you've been up to in terms of the sale of the Sacramento Kings, your new start here in Las Vegas in terms of being one of the founding partners here of the Golden Knights. And I wanted to talk to you a little about what it's like to be a former sport team owner, but also a minority owner now in the market right now. This is, I think, the most fertile sports market really in the United States. And based on your experience, talk a little about what you're seeing so far.
Well, you know, my brother Gavin always believed that this would be a great sports town for a team that we could call our own team here in Las Vegas. And I'd go back and forth on that, but finally, you know, after this has been brought here and what Mr. Foley's done with the team, it's been spectacular. And the city has responded. We sell out every game. The suites are sold out, and there's a real need for this at this particular time. A need for a team like the Knights. So it's been wonderful. It's been great for the community, and it's backed by everybody involved.
Right. You know, the Raiders are building their new stadium. We're going to have the Las Vegas Raiders here.
It's great.
2020. We have a new WNBA team that starts this spring. There's a new soccer team. They're playing in downtown. And plus we have all our regular sports. We have a new NASCAR event at the Speedway. UFC is chugging along. UNLV Sports. How would you compare our Las Vegas sports market to other markets you've seen around the country? Because people forget, you and your and the brothers used to own the Houston Rockets too, down in Houston. So, you know, how does the Las Vegas vibe compare to other professional sports markets?
Well, you know, we've been in two different markets. We're actually the only family in the NBA to ever own two different teams. We had the Rockets with my dad, and then with Gavin and I, the Kings. But they were wonderful cities, great cities. Las Vegas is a city that always needed a sports team of its own. That was the number one thing that when we went to see Mr. Foley, that we talked to him about, sat down with him and said they need their own team. Vegas needs its own team. So we went and saw Gary Bettman, the commissioner of the NHL, and he said, well, get an arena built, then we'll see. So one thing led to another, but we worked on it 3 years. It wasn't easy to get it done. It was a lot of hard work. We went and saw the governor,
right,
the mayor, the politicians.
People forget that you and Gavin worked from the get-go on that group of 75 to get the season ticket deposit campaign off and running. So you were in on the ground floor. In fact, I remember you showing up at the Blackhawks bars down here and even having to buy beers for these Blackhawk fans.
Yeah, we did it all. We hit small bars, we hit the lounges, my brother and I. We worked very hard on it. We're proud that we were able to have a part in bringing the team, but now we're just investors, and it's been a wonderful investment for us.
You know, a really popular topic is the NBA, and its commissioner just came out with a really interesting statement saying, let's legalize gambling, sports betting, and let's legalize it, and we'd like 1% of the whole shebang on it. And you have a lot of experience in the NBA, you know the culture. Talk a little about Las Vegas being a potential home for an NBA team, because as you know, MGM owns this building along with AEG and Bill Foley. I think they'd love to have a second tenant along with the Golden Knights. What's your take on the NBA?
Well, I think there's nothing. The NBA's fantastic. We loved our time in the NBA. They were always great to us. We made a lot of good friends there, so I have a lot of good feelings about the NBA. And I think that eventually a team, I think, could possibly make it here. Right now, we have enough. I think with the Knights and with the Raiders coming in, and then the soccer, it adds up. It takes a little bit away from everybody. But I think eventually, no doubt, there probably will be an NBA team, and it'd be great for the city as well. I think it might be a little premature to have hockey and NBA together at this time. It is done in other markets, and some markets is successful and some it isn't. It just depends on the overall population.
You brought up a good point about maybe growing too fast too soon.
Yeah, we're in good shape right now. You have the Raiders coming in. That's magnificent. It's going to help the entire city, the state of Nevada. And it's just great for everybody involved. And then, of course, with our team. And then the soccer team's coming in. And the WNBA team, I forgot about that. So that's another team. But I think after what we started here with the Knights, Mr. Foley and Gavin and I think that we started something that opened everybody's eyes around the country that, hey, better watch Las Vegas. It's a heck of a market.
You know, when I interviewed you and Gavin, the one thing I really appreciated was the fact that you had a really interesting story about literally, I think you were in Huntington Beach or somewhere in California. You looked out your window, you saw kids on skateboards, and I think you dove right into like a skateboard tournament or competition. And I admired the fact that you were able to kind of look outside the box and see possibilities in the sports industry. Talk about Las Vegas, about maybe that one sport or something like esports, which is kind of exploding. What do you think you have your eye on that people aren't looking at right now that you think has kind of a possibility of taking root right here in Vegas?
In my view, esports is basically an incredible asset or whatever.
It's definitely an entertainment genre for sure.
It's huge, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. The thing about it, it's worldwide, and it's not market by market. It's an entire world. There's hundreds of thousands and millions of people that are involved in that. So I think that's the next big thing.
You know, Las Vegas has the Luxor plans to take one of their nightclubs and make it into an esports arena. And there's a kind of a famous team called Rogue here in Las Vegas too. So Las Vegas is beginning to become a esports hub here, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a great city. We'll back it. The community will back it. We like things to be positive. And after everything that's happened in the past few months, it's just anything positive for Las Vegas is good for the city. That's what we all want.
When you and Gavin were I remember you were talking about you wanted to get back into professional sports. You and Bill Foley seemed to be like a really good tandem. Talk a little about what your expectations were at the time and what has actually happened, because sometimes I feel like we're in this like surreal Cinderella story the first few months with the team. Even last night, the team waits till the final 2 minutes to tie the game and then score the game winning goal 10 seconds later. It seems like the team is on this magic carpet ride. Talk about your expectations and how things have turned out.
Well, obviously things have turned out really well, and it's great for the city. Everybody's so excited. They've embraced the team. We've embraced it. The whole world seems like they've embraced it, and far beyond our expectations. Normally, with an expansion team, you don't expect to make the playoffs for 5 years. It's a 5-year plan. That's how you have to look at it. But fortunately, Mr. Foley hired some good people. And the GM and all the people involved in the hockey personnel made a heck of a decision and got some great players and brought them in here. And it's a team that all gets along, and they never say die. They never quit. It's just been an amazing story, and it's probably a story that will be told in sports for a long time, depending on how far we go in the playoffs.
Since you're the former owner of the Sacramento Kings, do you ever think back to some of the glory days of the Kings? People forget the Kings, under your ownership, made a run to the Western Conference Finals, and they were this close to being the LA Lakers that one season.
Yeah, it was great.
Do you ever think back about your NBA days?
Yeah, I think about it a lot. It's fun. Those were great days. We had a lot of great times in Sacramento. We won a championship with the Monarchs.
Correct, right.
WNBA, and then we won a championship with our soccer team too, our indoor soccer team. They were actually called the Knights. So we had some great successes there, but it was time to move on. And now we're involved with this. And, it's not quite the same, but it still feels good.
Speaking of soccer, a new team is starting in downtown Las Vegas. In fact, their first preseason game is February 10th. They play 3 MLS teams in preseason games in the month of February. From checking out the landscape so far on the sports scene here, how do you think this is basically, I understand it's a United Soccer League team, which is kind of like a AAA level, and the owner does want to eventually make a jump one day to MLS. What's your take on how the soccer team will do?
Well, hopefully they'll do really well. We're all rooting for them, and it's a great sport, and there is a need for soccer in this community. And I think eventually, if he can make the jump to the MLS, that'll be the real key. But I'm pretty sure the fans will support it. It'll be a lot of fun to bring out the family and then build a base, build a fan base, and then eventually go to the MLS.
One of the cool things I think about what people remember of you and your brother in Sacramento was your close relations with the fans. You used to talk with them all the time. Here in Las Vegas, what's the relationship between you and the fans here, especially in this building? It seems as though there's such a festive, upbeat environment in the building during games. It's kind of an event all by itself,
Yeah, every game's an event, and it's exciting and fun, especially when you're winning. When you're winning, there's nothing like it in the world. And so we're all on a euphoria, and it's been great. It's been I'm amazed, and I can't believe what I see, actually.
Well, Joe, I just want to appreciate your time.
Okay, Alan.
I just want to let people know that Joe Maloof and his brother Gavin were really one of the early supporters of LVSportsBiz.com. And we've really made a mark for covering the news intersection between business, sports, politics, and fans. And I really want to just let everyone know how much I appreciate your early support from the get-go. And I really think we're onto something very special because Las Vegas, I think, is really the most dynamic sports industry market going right now. It's funny because we're only the 40th biggest TV market, and yet there is so much energy and
everybody loves the city. They all want to come in. When somebody tells you they're coming to Las Vegas, they don't cancel. They come. So anyway, but I want to congratulate you because I remember when you and I sat down, and Kevin Kaplan, wonderful gentleman, he's worked for the family for years, and my brother Gavin, I think you had 50 followers or 50 readers.
It was pretty meager at the start.
Yeah, it was like 50 to 70, and now you're 45,000, and you've done that in less than a year. So, congratulations on all your success.
Well, thanks, and
it's been great.
And we look forward to catching up, periodically. Well, listen, next stop, I guess, is Stanley Cup playoffs.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, you got to interview me for that.
You got it.
Okay.
Listen, this is Alan Snell with LV Sports Biz in front of T-Mobile Arena with Joe Maloof. Have a great day.